Hello and welcome to WMT Reviews Avengers Month. I am Wise Man Tanofsky. Well, I did it. 22 straight hours of Marvel movie marathon at Leicester Square, and I got through all of it without falling asleep or missing a moment. And honestly, it was probably the greatest cinema experience of my life. Just being sat in a room filled with 400 geeks and nerds, watching and enjoying these movies together, it was incredible. The funny moments were made funnier, the tense moments were made tenser, and the amazing atmosphere even managed to make Iron Man 3 watchable. But at approximately 7 o'clock p.m., 19 hours into the marathon, the audience cheered and applauded as the movie we had all been waiting for started to roll. Avengers Age of Ultron has been deeply anticipated for years, mainly because it's one of the only movies we haven't been able to accurately predict anything about. We can all guess what will transpire in Captain America Civil War, and even the two-part finale Infinity War, but from the very beginning, the people behind the movie have said it will take nothing but the name from the original Age of Ultron story, leaving the storyline a mystery. And there have been no post-credit scenes or references linking directly into it with any detail at all, with the exception of the Winter Soldier mid-credit scene, which connects briefly to its opening. But aside from this very short glimpse, we had no idea what we were in for. So it's finally time to see what we've all been waiting for. Does this movie live up to the masterpiece of the original? Let's find out. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the WMT review of Avengers Age of Ultron. So just what is the story? The Avengers, all as previously cast, are cleaning up Hydra bases in the wake of the events of Winter Soldier, as well as leading an effort to recover Loki's scepter, which they reclaim from Hydra's Baron von Strucker, played by Thomas Kretschmann. Following this, Stark and Banner discover an advanced intelligence residing within the scepter, and decide to use it to revive a dormant AI defense program named Ultron. However, while Jarvis attempts to bring the program online, Ultron, voiced by James Spader, invades, overpowers, and seemingly destroys Jarvis, creating himself a body from Iron Legion drones, and moving to terminate the Avengers, believing he must exterminate humanity to complete his programming of protecting Earth. When the team goes after Ultron, the Discovery has allied himself with two of Hydra's advanced humans, in the Maximoff twins, played by Aaron Taylor-Johnson and Elizabeth Olsen, whose unnatural abilities tear the team apart, and following a massively violent clash between the Hulk and Tony Stark's Hulkbuster armor, force them into hiding. Meanwhile, Ultron attempts to build himself a new body of synthetic tissue, which he loses to the Avengers in an attack, and which Stark uses to combine the Mind Gem with Jarvis's reconstituted program to create the Vision, voiced by Paul Bettany, and lead an assault against Ultron and his army of drones, as he moves to destroy humanity by dropping a city on the planet. When the Maximoff twins defect after learning Ultron's true plans, they unite with the Avengers and are able to evacuate the city and defeat Ultron, while Iron Man and Thor safely destroy Ultron's weapon. Where Avengers Assemble took a lot of time to establish the building of the Avengers team, Age of Ultron throws you straight into an Avengers scenario with the attack on the Hydra bases. And where in the first film, true, they all work together, they all do their own thing in the battle, here you can see them actively working off one another and fighting together. There is a real feeling of coordination and teamwork between them all. One throws their weapon to another and is hurled through the air by another one. It's obvious that this isn't the first time since New York that they've worked together, and they've obviously had a lot of time to learn each other's techniques and work off them. This also aids the pacing very well. Where the first film was slow through Act 1 and 2 before the mind-blowing finale, Age of Ultron starts big and ends big, but still slows down for Act 2 as the team recover from their recent defeat. The storyline itself was very different from what I was expecting. Obviously, Ultron's motive of upgrading himself while trying to destroy humanity was a no-brainer. The execution of the plan was something I could never have anticipated. I mean, dropping a city on them? That is awesome. There are a lot of references to the previous cataclysms of Earth's history, and Ultron is even looking to outdo the wiping out of the dinosaurs, which works for his trait of constantly advancing and improving, or evolving as he calls it. The evolution of destruction. I like it. So let's have a look at the cast. RDJ, Evans, Hemsworth, Ruffalo, Johansson and Renner are all back once again, and they are all even better than they ever have been. The actors all know their characters very intimately now, and know how to play them and how to play off one another. Just like in the battle sequences, in the downtime they all act as a team, as a band of friends. The after-party sequence is one of my favourites of these, as they all compete to try and lift Thor's hammer. The atmosphere is so enjoyable and comfortable, and it feels so natural to watch them all sitting together and enjoying one another's company. Everyone saw Thor's expression when Cap made the hammer nudge, right? Brilliant. Something I was very happy with was RDJ as Stark. His character has completely reverted back to the way he was before Iron Man 3, and I loved that. Rather than being mean-spirited and arrogant, he went back to the boyish and funny side that we had before, and I very much appreciated that. Another fantastic performance by the whole team. Of course, the team don't work together quite so well in one of the biggest action sequences of the film, the Hulk versus the Hulkbuster. My God, this scene was amazing. The action just doesn't stop, it just keeps going, building and building. The level of destruction is like nothing we've ever seen before. And one of the funniest moments in the film still remains to be when the Hulk loses his teeth and Iron Man just stares at him and goes, "I'm sorry." Absolutely brilliantly choreographed, brilliantly executed. It is a magnificent action sequence. Like the movie, however, I'm going to take some time to look at the team member who's been so overlooked before, with Jeremy Renner as Hawkeye. For the guy who's had the single least development in the series, he gets more than anyone this time around. And with the ever-present theme of mortality, I thought this meant only one thing. The revelation of his wife and kids, the constant references to his future plans, they were going to kill him off. Right from the start, when Strucker says target the weaker ones, I first got the idea that either Widow or Hawkeye were going to die in this movie. And all through the film, as I say, the theme of mortality comes up, and it feels more and more inevitable. To the point where when he gets off the ship to go back for the kid, I was gripping the arm of my seat thinking, this is it. And while his death would have been upsetting, with all that foreshadowing, it would have been too predictable. Which is why I really didn't see it coming when he in fact survived. Meaning he got all the development without having to pay for it with his life. So let's have a look at the new players. Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, played by Elizabeth Olsen and Aaron Taylor-Johnson respectively. Now going into this film, these two were some of my biggest causes for anxiety. I didn't care for them in Godzilla, and when I found out they were doing accents throughout, I wasn't looking forward to it. But you know what? They won me over. The effects on Quicksilver's hyperspeed scenes were incredible. They rivaled that of the new Flash series and even that of the Quicksilver we saw in Days of Future Past. And that was probably down to execution. A lot of the shots for his running sequences were shot outdoors, which gives a very natural feel to the visuals, which was far superior to just running in front of a green screen. Olsen as well gives a very good performance as the tortured and hypnotic telekinetic. And once again, the effects on her powers are perfect. It really gives off a feeling of the power of the mind. Her energy bolts are akin to mental neurons flaring up, and her performance really reflects the emotional feedback of tampering with the minds of others. The accents didn't bother me at all. They both got a good amount of development. I was very happy with both of them, and I really didn't see that coming. And of course, we also have the introduction of the Vision. I rather enjoyed this character, and going into it, I wasn't sure if I would. I've always found this character to be boring in other adaptations. But here, he works very well, largely due to the fact that, well, he's Jarvis incarnate. It's the walking, talking visualization of Stark's AI assistant, a character who's become so iconic over the series, finally given flesh, albeit artificial. I think he was enjoyable mostly because of the combination of knowing everything due to hiding on the internet, but understanding nothing of the world because he's never really been alive before. He doesn't know if he's good or evil, but he knows what he has to do. Okay, the big one. On to the movie's villain, James Spader as the voice of Ultron. And I'm going to get this out of the way very quickly. I still don't like the design of Ultron Prime. His face is too emotive, and I don't like the way his mouth moves. His face isn't scary. Ultron is one of the scariest Marvel villains because of his complete lack of any semblance of emotion. His face is fixed in this threatening, glaring position, mouth permanently held open, and that makes the subtle and cold dialogue he delivers even more chilling. He could be talking so calmly, but because of the way he looks, it was always threatening and always scary. This design is not scary. But once I got past that, I began to appreciate this character for what he was, and that was enjoyable. Ultron feels very much like a shattered glass mirror image of Tony Stark. Everything from his demeanor to his brief moments of comedy. I especially like the line, "I'm glad you asked because I wanted to take this moment to explain my evil plan." If Iron Man was a villain, I could see him using that line. He even tries to put together his own mock version of the Avengers when he recruits Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. He feels less like a robot who's controlled by a misguided sense of logic, and more like an artificial intelligence which is fundamentally disturbed. In short, Ultron is a psychopath. He's an AI which is corrupted by what can only be described as artificial insanity, and I loved that. Everything from the way he talks, snapping from calm to violent without warning, to singing to himself while shooting at people. It was a very enjoyable adaptation of the character, and it works so well within this film. The design may not have won me over, but the interpretation of the character very much did. So how did they do? Does Age of Ultron live up to the legacy of Avengers Assemble? Well, in my humble opinion, yes it does. This movie was incredible to watch. The twists and turns were intriguing and really did keep me guessing. I thought I knew what was going to happen, but it kept proving me wrong. It had even better comedy than possibly any MCU film before it. The audience literally roared with laughter when Vision passed Thor his hammer. That was amazing. With appearances from Nick Fury, Falcon, and even War Machine very much back in the gunmetal grey as he should be, this was the biggest and most adventurous Marvel movie to date, and it pulled it off spectacularly well. I don't know, maybe it was the atmosphere of being in a room filled with 400 people who had all been waiting the last 19 hours to see this movie. But it was simply awesome to watch. I loved the way Ultron and Vision battled on a digital level. I loved the way the Avengers worked together in the final battle. The score was even better than last time, the pacing was perfect, and overall, with the exception of Ultron Prime's design and the effects slipping a few times, I honestly can't think of any other fault. So I'm happy to award Avengers Age of Ultron another 9 on the Orsometer. As good as Avengers Assemble in every way, and with a mid-credits scene which shook the foundations of the cinema with applause. An all-out triumph of a sequel. So that is a 9 on the Orsometer for Avengers Age of Ultron. Well, thank you for joining me for Avengers Month. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed making it. It has been really fantastic. I've been Wise Man Tanofsky. This has been WMT Reviews. Thank you very much for listening.